All right, we're leaving Winslow, Arizona. Welcome back to Dash for Adventure.
North Park Drive and then turn slight right to I-40 West.
Thank you, Winslow, Arizona. Today we're going to go by and see some ruins. It's going to be interesting. Stick around. See that mountain off in the distance? Right over there? Yep, that's where Flagstaff is. This is our second day driving towards Flagstaff. Wow. Seems to be a theme with this trip. We've seen a lot of tractor trailers off the side of the road. Hope everybody's okay. Let's go to Two Guns, Arizona. See what we find here. This place has been cleaned up since we've been here. So this was a Phillips 66 gas station that was built in the 60s and it burned in the 70s. I'm not entirely sure what that means. Remember, cats are better than you, I guess. They've cleaned this place up. Somebody has. Looks like there's some asphalt work going on here. I'm not sure. The ruins to the old zoo are way back there, and it's a whole lot of trucks, so we'll see what's going on. We may not be able to video all of this. So there used to be a KOA up there. You can see by the shape of that sign that it used to be a KOA. Now it says, Two Guns, 100 years. Some water tanks here. And this was not here last time. Looks like they're doing some milling and preparing to do some type of asphalt work around here. Wow. You can barely see it, but there's campsites out there. Look at the power right there. Can you see the power? Wow.
There's another campsite. That appears to be the old swimming pool back there.
There's a power station. And there's another one out there. So this was evidently a KOA in the 60s and 70s, back when that Shell station was operating before it burned.
You can see a good ways. There was 2 rows that were actual campsites in this KOA. This appears to be one of the bathhouses that was here.
We could loop back and go that way, but I think we're gonna drive down this old gravel road right here and see if it comes out behind the ruins. Why not?
This was a pretty big KOA when it was in its heyday. You can see all the power posts.
Looks like the earth is opening up over there. Now that is a cool wash. So apparently, in the 1900s, 1920s, this place was purchased by a couple, and then they leased part of it out to a Harry Two Guns Miller. And Harry Two Guns Miller leased it and built a zoo, a store, and other things on what became Route 66. She's afraid of heights. So the ruins are actually over there. And I think we can take this back entrance in. We may get run off, but we'll see. There's a bridge that covers this opening in the earth there that used to be the original Route 66. We'll go see. Let's go. Check this out. I'm not even sure what parts are what, but there was a zoo here. This could have been the zoo. They had mountain lions, cougars, what else? And then over here you can see the bridge over there used to be the original Route 66. Not sure how it traversed, I guess around that bend. And then the entrance is up there where those trucks are. And over there was the Apache Death Cave, somewhere over there that you could go down in. And Paul is saying that this was either a cliff dweller's experience or a hotel. Interesting. Absolutely interesting place. The tree of KOA knowledge. There's the backside of the gas station. There's the ruins over there. We're going to try to get to this side of them. All right, let's see how far we can get with this road. We've been here before, but there were never trucks or equipment here, so we'll see. If there's a no trespassing sign, we won't cross it. Yeah, there's people parked over there, and that's where the Apache Death Cave is. So we may go over there if we can't get in over here. Wow, that's beautiful. So there's some ruins. It looks like there might have been a sign over there. Well, there was no trespassing sign, and it's just heavy equipment, so we're going to leave that equipment alone and just look at the ruins. Look at that, it says mountain lions. So there were mountain lions, birds, Gila monsters, snakes, and this Two Guns Miller shot someone here. Apparently there was a legal dispute over the lease, since this other couple, I'll show their name in the video at the bottom, but the couple that owned the land that he leased it from, they had a dispute and couldn't find a happy medium. So Miller shot the gentleman that he was leasing the property from. Check out the cages. I wonder what was in there. He was acquitted of the charges. Sounds kind of fishy to me, but even today you can get away with murder if you know the right people and grease the right hands. Yeah, this was definitely the zoo. Look at all these areas here. So Two Guns Miller was also mauled by one of his mountain lions, which led to some health issues. So even though he was acquitted, the widow and him did not get along. Eventually, he left town. He left town, and the widow remarried, and they started developing a whole new area up there near the gas station. They moved the zoo up there, started a new store, and continued on. So from the 1920s until about the late 1970s, this place was thriving. You just know this was an area where the animal that was in the cage was living back there with those windows in that door, but then would come out and could be seen by people that was standing around here. Wow. So the widow that remarried that couple continued on up there. Two Guns Miller had moved away. And this was all prior to Interstate 40 coming through here. This area, like so many areas, fell prey to I-40. Route 66 used to come right through here and go across that bridge. And if you follow that road along, you can see the ruins over there of the Cliff Dwellers Hotel. So yeah, Route 66 came down through here and went across this bridge all the way until the mid-80s. In the mid-80s, Interstate 40 was put in, and this town and this road became obsolete. Look, there's Paula. It's hard to imagine that this was the main road to get to the west at one point, and that was a store or a tourist attraction of some kind. That's scary. The bridge is falling apart right here. So the Apache Death Cave. There's an Apache Death Cave over there. I'm not sure if it's that building or if it's that building that turned it into a tourist attraction. But apparently the Navajo and the Apache used to fight here quite often. And this was evidently a great place for an ambush. This goes back prior to the 1920s. You can see how Route 66 right here actually lines up with where I-40 was, or where I-40 is. Yes, I'm out of breath. I ran up here. Ooh, maybe this was the grand entrance. Let's check this out. Wow. Now remember, we were just on the other side of this. Right over there, actually. So, yeah. Someday this will be gone. Oh, check it out. What's that? Looks like bathrooms right there. Outhouses, probably. What's really interesting is if you look at the ground we're walking on, these aren't rocks. This looks like broken up concrete. Aged. Really old. They probably had a parking lot. I guess if you think about it, back in the 1920s, they had to have commercial use outhouses. I think there was a gas station here. There was. So those squares were to hold up the roof, and then there's where they had the old round pump, self-pump fuel station right there. All right. So back on the topic of the Apache Death Cave. Prior to the 1920s, probably in the late 1800s, story has it that this was land that was contended between Navajo and Apache. As you can tell, it's a great place for an ambush. And at some point, when they would fight back and forth, the last warring efforts ended in that cave by either a death of an Apache or the Apache killed the Navajo. I'm not sure.
I do believe that the Apache Death Cave, the Apaches died because they were waiting out to ambush, but then a fire started and they were not able to escape.
Oh,
But
so they all died in a fire.
I'm not sure, but I do believe that's the story.
Either way, to round this entire visit out a little eerily, Mr. Two Guns Miller dug the cave out recovered all the Apache skulls and sold them in his gift shop. That's just eerie. All right, so that was our visit to Two Guns, Arizona, with a little history of this stop. So I think we're gonna wrap this video up right here. Make sure and like and subscribe if you like quirky little content like this. We've been coming here for, I don't know, it's probably third, fourth stop, and we really enjoyed going over the history of this place, at least what we know of it, with you. See you in the comments. Should I leave her? No, I would never do that. She's found something really cool out there. We'll put it in the shorts, I'm sure.